leadership, all right? Joining me now is Congressman Joe Crowley, Democrat from New York. Mr. Crowley, just tell me, did you vote for that legislation?
No, I did not, and I think it's really demonstrative of I think the approach of this Congress. That is, anything that we've done over the past few Congresses to kind of protect the American public. This Congress, once again, whether it's on food safety or it's on the Clean Water Act or it's on the Clean Air Bill or the Endangered Species Act, it just, or quite frankly, you mentioned the health care bill, it just take away what we've given to them. And I suspect that more is offerings for the future.
How do you characterize John Boehner's leadership, therefore, given the performance of this Congress?
I think that Speaker Boehner finds himself in a very difficult situation. He has 85 or 86 freshmen who seem to be running the roost within the Republican majority. I think deep down inside, having known John Boehner for about almost 14 years, I think he'd like to be more of a deal maker. I think that was almost, it was demonstrated during the negotiation, or lack thereof, on the debt ceiling, that I think John wanted to bring this to, a grand bargain, but he could not lead his to that goal.
Is he being held hostage by someone?
I think that there are certainly, and this is only my observation, I think there are certain individuals within his own party who are using the fact that these Tea Party folks exist within this freshman class, and maybe beyond, and there may be a little bit of an internal struggle for leadership within the Republican House of Representatives that's not played out every day in the newspapers.
You were sent to the House in 1998, is
yes.
that right? Mm-hmm. When you were sent, was it your avowed conviction that the only thing you wanted to do was ensure that George Bush was just a one-term president?
Well, quite frankly, I worked under President Bush and as president. And I worked in a bipartisan way. I can name a number of pieces of legislation, not the least of which was the civilian nuclear transfer deal with India, as a Democrat, working to see that through, because I thought that was in the best interest of our country. And a myriad of other issues, I worked with my Republican colleagues and with the administration to see things through. I don't think you saw during that time period what you're seeing happen now. When Nancy Pelosi first became Speaker, when George Bush was President of the United States, in her first term, she passed into law over 350 bills. Into law.
Unbelievable. Since
the beginning of this term, with Speaker Boehner under President Barack Obama, less than 40 bills have actually been enacted into law. It's just remarkable, the comparison and the lack of vision, quite frankly. What scares me more than anything else, it's not about the do-nothing Congress. What really scares me is that the Republican leadership lacks vision. There is no vision for America. It's all about standstill. It's all about brinksmanship. It's about holding legislation hostage for really the least denominator amongst his caucus, and I think it's very damaging to our country.
When your constituents meet you on a regular basis, and you are a constituency member, you are accessible to your constituents all the time, what do they say to you about this? I mean, how do you explain it? They elected you. You can't get the government funded for more than 4 weeks at a time.
I've noticed over the last few years in particular, we've all had to reevaluate Congress 101. Everything we thought we knew about how legislation is made and developed to, I think about the filibuster. Well, we knew about the filibuster. No one ever told anyone about the 60 vote within Congress or the Senate to kill it. And I think there's been a lot of explaining going on. But more importantly, more than anything else, I think my constituents are telling me, and I think we're seeing this around the country, they want this Congress to work together. They want Democrats and Republicans to come together to work on behalf of the country. The president can't do what he wants to do alone. He needs a Congress that will work on behalf of the American people.
Okay, so here it is. Here's the American Jobs Act, proposed by the president. Yep. It includes various cuts. It includes investments in terms of infrastructure in the country and education. Your constituents are saying, we want to work, we want to improve the condition of our schools. What's going to happen to that bill?
Well, I'm very concerned about that. I'm very concerned about it.
It ain't going to go anywhere.
Look, if you look at the last 9 months as an indication, I really, quite frankly, have very, very low hope for that bill going through in its own right. Where I think this may take a turn, if we're lucky, if the Committee of 12 can come up with some kind of solution or recommendation to Congress before Thanksgiving, and we have between then and Christmas or the holidays to enact that, a grand bargain, I think we can incorporate the president's vision in terms of a job bill into that overall structure. But quite frankly, I'm very, very concerned about the lack of movement within the Republican caucus, within the Republican leadership, to work in step with the president to do what's in the best interest of this country.
When are you up for re-election yourself?
We are all up next year. We are all up next year.
So are you telling your constituents that for the next 14 months there's pretty much nothing you can do?
Well, I think what we have to continue to do is beat the drumbeat and let them know where this all lies. I'm in the minority in the House of Representatives. I'm in the majority, but no matter what, I find a way to work, even with my Republican colleagues, for the betterment of this country. And I think that's a message that has to go beyond my constituency. Whether it's Joe Crowley, it's going to be another Democrat, quite frankly, that represents this district. It's really more important that we get this right for the American people. I'm willing to vote for a grand bargain. That puts me in political jeopardy in some respects, but I want to do what's in the right interest of this country, get ourselves in economic shape, help stimulate this economy, and get people back to work. That's what they want to do. And what they're really looking for is vision. They want us to have a vision of the future. Democrats gave that. We passed health care. You mentioned that. We said fair pay for fair day's work. We said give veterans when they come home an opportunity for education, help the average person afford education. We're not seeing anything. It's been over 250 days. And not a single jobs bill has been on the floor of the House. Not a single hearing has been held on President Obama's jobs bill. Not a single hearing.
It's incredible. Just a final question. As you reflect on your own career, what's your job satisfaction level at this moment?
For myself personally?
Yes.
Quite frankly, this is one of the lowest ebbs, I think, politically, in terms of my involvement with the Congress. I love the institution.
And you clearly love public service.
It's part of my life. The notion that I get to work in the Capitol building, when I fly in, I tell my kids, I tell anyone around me, it's an enormously gratifying opportunity. But quite frankly, over the last few months, given the lack of, again, vision by the Republican leadership, it's made it very difficult and a bit downtrodden in many respects. But I don't give up hope. I have great faith in this country and our ability to overcome even political problems like this.
That's great. Congressman Joe Crowley, thank you, and I encourage you to keep your faith.
Thank you, Martin.
And now some breaking news.